But I think what makes athletes great is like getting back to the drawing board, staying feisty, and I don't know. That's the only way I feel like I've been able to like progress or like make strides in the right direction versus like coming off of practice and saying, hey, well, you know what, I didn't play well today. I'm sure I'll play better tomorrow. Just I don't understand that mindset, and I would assume most athletes that have reached the top of their industry or like reached a very high level of their craft kind of think the same way.
And I think that's where you see sometimes it happens to players where they do just become happy to be there, and then they become complacent and they just stay
right
even.
PPA, right?
Yeah.
I know for myself, I got too much pride. I'm too feisty. Like once I get to that point, see you later. I will not be around. What's going on? Tyson McGuffin here. Welcome to the McGuffin Show. Good to be back. Let's see here. The last week or so, I've had some guys in town. Roscoe and a guy named Luke Watson. I think it's
Awesome.
Lukey, 18-year-old. We call him Casual Luke. You know why? Because the guy never bends his knees. He plays like Matt Wright. Zero knee bend. If I could ever do that, I totally would. Because I would definitely not sweat as much.
No pickle butt. If you don't
if you don't bend your knees, there's no case of pickle ass. That is very true.
But then you don't build your glutes, right?
Right.
Does he have a flat back?
It's all about legs around here, baby.
Use your legs. You know this is.
Use your legs.
This might be
Daddy's always had big legs.
When I'm watching you and I'm kind of like nervous as you're dinking
as long
and
as
playing,
that man's moving his
I'll
legs.
like slowly say to myself like, play smart, and then I find myself saying legs. Nobody
Luke,
does that.
legs. So if I
Come
can't
on,
say how many times Roscoe and I said, Luke, for gosh sakes, quit being so casual and use your legs.
Well, what would Pierre do that one time? Put his hand on his hip.
Yeah.
And
hand on the hip. Yeah, a goofball. Anyhow, so I had these guys in town the last week. You know how I like to bring some talent up here and get some training in for a week. Roscoe, total stud from LA. His mom, Beth, is a complete unit and has been a senior pro legend for a long time now. Played professional tennis. And let's see, Roscoe went to UCLA, played high-level tennis, was a complete savage in juniors. He's been playing for the last year. He plays with my guy, Matt Marseille from Coeur d'Alene that also moved to LA. They ended up hooking up, and now they're like total buddies now. Sam Curry's in that group. And anyhow, it was nice to have Roscoe here for a week. Roscoe's 6'5", big boy, and definitely has some upside. Is getting better at a fast rate, and does a lot of things well. So definitely nice to have Roscoe. Roscoe also taught for us in Cincinnati a couple weeks ago, and something I really did not realize is just how social and personable that guy is, and he knows what he's talking about. And usually when I can see those three key ingredients, come work for me, and come work for K-Mac.
Talk about someone that's just so eager.
By the way, next pod, K-Mac's coming on. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, eager to get better, ask lots of questions. Like I guess I've noticed that when we first met him.
Total yes guy.
Yeah, but and not only that, but like at the tournaments, like he'd finish and like he'd come to you for like, hey, what do you have any input on that or whatever? So just a sponge. And not just you, but
Total sponge, for sure.
You know, anybody that's doing well at pickleball, he's more than willing to learn and
Roscoe
take all the information.
Likes to tell his stories as well, personal storyteller.
Yeah, it sounds like he has a very social family, which he's like grown up to be a social, good human and good kid. But
totally.
But he made his first final, right? In APP.
He made his first final APP, and let's talk about that. He played the guy named Jonathan Medina, and I've played Jonathan. Jonathan's in his 40s, and I know he's pretty prideful about being in his 40s. Anyhow, I think we all saw that line call. I don't know if it was game 1 or game 2, but Roscoe's playing Jonathan in the finals APP a few weekends back. Don't know the exact location.
Was it on a serve?
Yeah, Roscoe called the serve. Roscoe called the serve out. And the ball was clearly out by a couple inches. Jonathan asked the ref if he thought it was in. The ref overturned it. And I guess why it wasn't challenged is kind of crazy. I don't know if Roscoe was out of timeouts or whatever. Anyhow.
Is there challenges in APP?
I'm pretty sure. But,
okay.
Why Jonathan even asked the ref if it was in is a little suspect, if you ask me. Anyhow, they ended up overturning it. Roscoe lost a point. Roscoe obviously didn't lose the match off of that call. But something that Jonathan did, and from what I heard today, there was actually somebody in the crowd that was screaming that you're 40, because I got the wrong impression on this. Because when
that looked bad,
it looked bad. So when Jonathan beat Roscoe, Jonathan basically in his face was like, "I'm 40, you're 20." No comment. Anyhow. Talking to Roscoe today, somebody was like taunting Jonathan about him being 40, and so I think he just shoved it in Roscoe's face.
It was a little reaction.
Right.
Yeah. I know that when you played him in North Carolina, it felt I mean, he did say that, I think, multiple times, but he also, like, 98% of the crowd was cheering for you. And so every time he'd, like, actually get a good shot or he'd do something and, like, it was crickets, like, he was coming back, like, come on, cheer for me. I'm 40, you know, or whatever. And, I mean, I took it for what it was. It was all good. But then when it happened again, I was like, oh, my gosh, this guy has a thing about his age or being that much older than the other players or whatever. But that makes a lot more sense if someone in the crowd was egging him on. Not that makes it okay, but it didn't look good.
Back to controlling your emotions. We all know I need to work on that as well. I mean, come on now. But easier said than done. Anyhow, Roscoe's been doing well on the APP circuit. He got signed with MOP, so it looks like he's going to be a PPA and MOP guy next year. Luke actually signed with PPA. Long story about Luke, or I guess short story about Luke. His family lives in Los Barriles. That's where Meg's family lives. That's where we got married. We actually just bought property down there. If you guys have ever been to Tres Palapas, a pickleball resort, that is in Los Barriles. Los Barriles does not get better than that. Fishing in the morning, pickle, kite surf in the afternoon.
You're not supposed to tell people about LB.
Baja
it's
midnight.
Terrible. It's
Baja
not
midnight
safe.
is what, 8? Margaritas by 5.
No, it's funny. Yeah, I think everybody gets up so early, whether you're fishing or playing pickle or you're just trying to get that like morning air. By the time it's like 9, you're exhausted. It feels like midnight, so we call it Baja midnight. But yeah, happy hours around like 6.
Right.
You eat some good food, go to bed. Everybody's like, you don't have to worry about noise or anything at night because everybody's in bed at least by 10. I don't think I've ever been up later than that. But then also a lot of times we're getting up at like 5 a.m. to go fishing, get out before the sun rises.
No,
it's a different world.
It's a different world, and there's no time down there. It's like Hawaii, you know, like just kind of float around. But
it's like Hawaii for the 1/8 of the price.
probably one of the better days of my life. Obviously, we got married down there, but anytime that we fish down there, like getting up that early, 5 a.m., getting on the boat at 6, seeing the sunrise. You're out at sea at like 7 a.m. and you're fishing for, red snapper, marlin.
Oh gosh.
Trolling for
Dorado, tuna.
Trolling for Dorado. Yeah. Anyhow,
billfish. Whatever.
We ended up catching like 2 or 3 marlin that day. And just the thrill of like putting that belt on, putting the fishing pole in that little hole, bringing that sucker in. You know me. I sweated through everything. And
can we tell the funny story about that? So
yeah, go ahead.
It's not super easy. I guess I have a skewed perspective a little bit. Like really lucky, my stepdad's a really good fisherman. My mom's a really good fisherwoman. They're part of a fishing club, and they just do it a lot. And so our family has caught a lot of marlin. And so when we were going out, we always preface it with everybody though, like you can't always expect to catch a marlin when you go out, right? It's not like a guaranteed thing. Well, that day in particular, we were able to go with Trumpudo. Menyo's brother. They're good friends. They're such good people. Whole family of like commercial fishermen, some of them, right, at night. And so during the day, sometimes work on boats. So anyways, we go out with them. We get one on the line, and of course, like me, I'm like wanting you to keep falling in love with fishing because I love fishing so much, and so I'm like, oh, give it to Tyson. He's gotta get the first one. So you get one on, and we get you in the chair, and it's not like an automatic chair. It's not like the big fancy fishing. You actually have to do some work.
Yeah,
so you're sitting in the chair, you get your pole in, you're like struggling, like, oh, it's so heavy, right?
45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah. So as you get one, we hook another one, and we're like,
which never happened.
No, never happened. So of course, Trumpudo's like, Meg, this one's yours. I'm like, okay. So there is no chair left. So I think we had a belt. We had a Velcro belt. So I throw the belt on. I have my marlin, and I'm like walking around, like you're staying stationary, and then my marlin's traveling around the boat. So I'm like playing ducking up and down and fighting the fish. So it was a super fun experience.
Be a gentleman and give
it
up
was
your
chaos.
chair, right?
No. I'd rather have it. But no, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. So we fought and we brought two to the boat.
Brought a couple in. Anyhow, just like that whole day, getting up early, catching a couple marlin. Once you get off the boat, they fillet it all up and put it in a bag for you. Then you go home, shower. You have sea legs, pretty much all day. And then the best part is you take it into a restaurant that night. You bring a big old gang with you, right? Buy all their alcohol and essentially have this like feast.
It's crazy.
You bring the fish in. They cook it 5 different ways. They grill it, fillet it, blacken it, dump a bunch of garlic on there.
Yeah,
the more garlic, the better.
Yeah.
And bring out rice and beans and tortilla and me.
Salad.
Bring out like the hot of all hot salsa.
Oh yeah.
That way I don't crap right for a couple days. And anyhow, just that whole experience, like catching fish, getting able to cook it that night.
Bringing it all to your family and
hanging
friends.
out with the crew.
Yeah.
It's like $7 a person for
Crazy.
this massive feast that could feed 40 people.
Yeah.
So good.
No, it's so good. No, it's such a like you said, it's a cool experience, I think.
Yep.
And yeah, you don't keep all your fish. I mean, you choose one to keep or whatever, but it usually is enough to bring back and
anyhow,
feed the family.
Lukey's family lives down there. Marcella and his dad Chip. Chip was like a professional kite surfer back in the day. Looks like he's got dumbbells in his forearms. The guy's got Popeye forearms. And anyhow, good kid. He's been kind of training down in Mexico, but just got signed with PPA. He's got a lot of potential if he could just use his legs, if you know what I mean. And anyhow, so good to have those boys here this last week. They were using the sauna, hot tub plunge, pretty much.
Dinners at the
Pretty much every
house
day, dinner at
and
the
hanging
house
out with our kids and
Yep.
letting Banks take them into her kitchen and cook them cupcakes and all sorts of things.
If they're not training with me, they are watching my children.
Right. Right.
All right, we're actually taking off tomorrow. Go to Miami. There's a Live Tour golf event there. It's like the year-end championships apparently. A chick that I went to high school with, her name is Kelly Bowers. She played golf at University of Washington. She was a couple years younger than me. Actually, her mom was a high school teacher, and I think her mom had me for a class. Anyhow, so Bubba apparently has been following me a little bit. Follows podcasts. Thought I was a cool cat.
Loves pickle.
Yep. And Kelly kind of got us hooked up because Kelly works for Bubba. Don't know what her main position is.
Maybe he just works on his management team.
Right.
I'm not sure.
Anyhow, so Bubba actually asked me to do the Pro-Am on Thursday, and the last Pro-Am I was involved in was Waste Management. It was Waste Management Open in Phoenix. That place is a complete zoo. Frat kids all over, sorority girls all over. Everybody's drinking, and
It's a party.
Right, I think I've said this before. Ricky Feller's dad, Roddy, great guy, motocross guy. Rod has taken my camp a couple times, and so Rod got us tickets into the Pro-Am. So I got to walk the course with Ricky Fowler and Michael Phelps, and got to hang out with those guys. Anyhow, every Pro-Am guy, celeb, ex-athlete, whoever that I saw playing golf actually knew what they were doing. They were very talented. So when Bubba asked me to do this thing, I'm like, hey, you know what? I think you're a total boy. I'm a huge fan of you, but you will never see me play in that Pro-Am anytime soon because I'm not ready. So it sounds like Wednesday we're gonna do some stuff in the morning. We're gonna have a content team there. I'm gonna play a few rounds of golf with him, and then actually Wednesday I'm getting some practice in with Fed. Fed's driving down, and kind of cool with me being in Miami. Kind of made sense that we plug in our Miami pickleball club team. It's a mouthful, and. Bring the whole crew down. So anyhow, so we're having team practice Thursday. I'm going to be at the event. I'm going to be at the Live Tour event like Friday through Sunday. And they set up a pickleball court in the middle of Vendor Village. So I'll be there doing meet and greets. Actually on Friday at noon, we're doing an exhibition with our team. So good way to kind of showcase the Miami team, good way to showcase the players, and obviously good way for my brand to get seen as well. and to kind of include everybody. So yeah, I think we're gonna do that for a couple days. Live tour, crazy music, drinking. Everybody's having a good time. From what it sounds like, they're having like a DJ. They're having a Lesso show up Saturday night and do an event at Live. Sunday night they're having Fisher. So Meg and I are going to be sure to be sober all weekend. No drinking, no fun. It's going to be awful. Anyhow, so definitely looking forward to that. Pegasus luxury car.
Taking care of us again.
Our guy James is going to meet us at the airport with a cool car and get us all taken care of. So shout out to Pegasus.
Yeah, and look them up if you're in Florida. I'm pretty sure they cover all of Florida, right?
Yeah.
But I think they're based out of Naples. But yeah, I think they go to most places in Florida. So really cool, fun. I mean, why not? Like, we're going. We have no kids. Like, why not? Like, get a cool car to like go around town in and
have a little fun.
Have fun and for sure. So should look it up for sure.
Mackie just turned 2.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I can't tell you how much more lovey and like affectionate he is
towards dad.
No, I mean,
yeah. Oh no, just in general.
No,
Yeah,
I think just in general, like he's just a lot easier to deal with, even though he is in his crazy twos. And last night he said he wanted me, and then he doesn't want me. It's just so funny. Banks does the same thing.
Yeah, or you say no, and he throws whatever's in his hand. But yeah, you're right. Other
he's just
than
starting
that,
to come into his own a little bit. He's
right?
more patient. I think he's just more self-aware. He's more loving. He loves to like Meg will be holding him. He'll grab her head and just bring it in for a big kiss.
Yeah, no matter what's on his face. And I'm like, oh no. But no, he's very sweet. And he's talking more now. And it's funny though, he has such a great vocabulary, but he just is very selectful when he wants to use it. But
yesterday, what did he show you yesterday?
That was insane. So we have a new kitchen table. So Elizabeth, our nanny, she was so funny. She's so smart. She got these like placemats, right? But she got ones with shapes, numbers, colors, all of that. Mac, as soon as we open them, he's like all about it, like goes over to these placemats. And he like tells me it's like it says all the numbers like 1 through, and I knew he could count to 13, but I didn't know that he knew his numbers like by sight. And so he's like looking at this thing and he's like, Mom, 8 umbrellas. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, 4 strawberries. And like, he's reading like the number. He's not like counting them individually. And it was just crazy. He knew them all. He knew almost all of his shapes, although he calls like there's a few shapes that he just calls rectangles, but he even knows rectangles. So I don't know. It was really cool to see that he's got all this like super secret knowledge. And it's funny too, because his teachers are just like amazed. They're like, do you know he knows this? You know? Right. And so it's funny because I don't think they're necessarily working on it in their 2-year-old classroom, but it's cool to see that like there's a lot going on in that little brain. There is. Even though he's just crazy and pure boy too. Right? Pure boy.
Bulldog, leads with the head.
Falls down, going about like...
Loves to have his hand in his pants.
Yeah, no, he's crazy boy. But loves in any sort of ball.
Luckily he's got mommy's brain.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, he's very smart.
He's got some good hand and eye. We had Ty here this last weekend, and so funny. Ty's got a new haircut, kind of like Dad. Went a little high and tight. Part line, fade, comb over, the whole deal.
Because he had like the soccer player hair going.
Soccer player haircut, like bald around the sides, and would like tie it up top. And anyhow, so funny. Banks a couple weeks ago didn't even recognize Ty because Ty had this new haircut. Ty looked a little older, and
she was like shy around him. Right. Like she wanted to hang out with him, but she was like intimidated. But he also had 2 older cousin boys too that were with him. But it was pretty cute. She this time though was totally fine. Right.
Yeah. But anyhow, so Ty was here this weekend, and I swear, like, his hand and eye has gotten so much better. Like so we ended up picking him up Thursday. We had practice Friday morning at 6 a.m. I ended up I always do this. I'll like wake up Ty at 5:30 and ask him if he wants to go to practice with Dad. And sometimes it'd be like, yes. Sometimes he's like, no, let me sleep. Anyhow, so I woke him up at 5:30. I'm like, hey, do you want to come with Dad? He's like, no. And then like 10 minutes later, I hear him walking down the stairs. And anyhow, so, usually I'll practice for a couple hours, and I'll spend the last like 30, 45 minutes playing with Ty, and I'll feed him balls and stuff. And I swear, like his forehand, even his backhand, he's got a 2-handed backhand now. He knows what he's doing. His technique looks a lot better. and he's asking me how his technique looked. Anyhow, he's like fully invested. He loves it.
Yeah.
And I swear he was kicking Roscoe's ass and Luke's butt in ping pong.
Oh.
Luckily, I mean, he's pretty close to beating me. He is. No, and like I played a ton of ping pong growing up. I mean, I need to stop practicing more.
Well,
but
and it's funny because I don't think he plays.
He doesn't
He
play.
never
No,
plays.
no, he's so
so
talented,
it just naturally.
trying
he
to
played
encourage
me
him to play more racket sports.
No, he played me yesterday, and I felt bad. Like he's so sweet because he's like, oh, that was fun, and I'm like, yeah, I got 2 points. And what's worse than that too, I don't know any of the rules. So like, he's like, yeah, I get 5 serves, and then you get 5 serves. I'm like, okay. Whatever you say, but I know like how it goes with Pickle sometimes, where he kind of makes up some of the rules because he's like that competitive. So the whole time I'm wondering, like, it wouldn't have made
whatever
any.
It takes for a dub.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made any difference for my game. It was terrible,
funny.
but in the same sense, I was like, is this the real rules? But yeah, no, it was fun.
He's built.
But yeah, we've got a ping pong table now. So
got a
I
little
mean,
ping pong table that needs to get moved out of the playroom because there's no room in there.
Well, it was funny too, though. It's so tight in there, and that cupboard's up behind it. Ty was serving, and the cupboard was like returning his serve and stuff. So he was just like playing against the. Yeah, it's resourceful. Very resourceful.
So funny. I was telling Roscoe and Luke. I was telling Roscoe this morning. And Ty, obviously, he's younger, but he's built just like me. So yesterday in practice, and my wife knows this. Like anytime I practice and it doesn't go my way, or if I play and it doesn't go my way, like I'm just a psycho. Like my day is ruined. And I think what makes athletes great, yes, having a quick reset method in the moment during match play is necessary during practice, but having a quick reset method, if it didn't go well for a couple hours after that, trying to like reset, good luck. Anyhow. Yesterday, we played, I don't know how many games of doubles, but I ended up losing 2 games and low key, not like I'm keeping track, but lost 2 games yesterday. And I swear, I was like in my head, I was such a psycho all day. I played like crap and I was like second guessing myself and just any time that I play bad like that, I have such a hard time like washing it out. Anyhow, all day yesterday, feisty as could be, was like dying to play this morning. And came back this morning, didn't lose a game, and played much better. I was telling Roscoe this story as well. K-Mac, like 5 years ago, K-Mac and I would meet on like a Thursday night. We played like 10 games of singles. Well, this one night, Kyle took 2 games off of me. And Kyle can vouch. Out of like 500 practice games of singles, K-Mac, may have won like 10 or 20. But that night beat me twice. I remember driving home that night from Spokane, like an hour, like driving home. I was in my head, I was thinking about what I was going to do to Kyle like the very next day, and was just being like psychotic about it, right? Came back the next day, took his head off, game over. But I think what makes athletes great is like getting back to the drawing board, staying feisty. And I don't know, that's the only way I feel like I've been able to like progress or like make strides in the right direction versus like coming off of practice and saying, hey, well, you know what? I didn't play well today. I'm sure I'll play better tomorrow. Just, I don't understand that mindset. And I would assume most athletes that have reached the top of their industry or like reached a very high level of their craft kind of think the same way.
Well, not only that, but psycho. No, I've always said too, like, it's funny and not a lot of times people don't know all the details, I feel like, until like the end of someone's career, or when someone goes back and does like a memoir type thing or like talks about all the nitty gritty stuff. But like, I think just to be successful at a different level, like you do have a few screws loose, or you are kind of, there are some things that have to, it's like that, we watched that Free Climber. I can't remember the name of the movie. This was a long time ago, but is it called Free Climb or something? Yeah. And they're doing brain scans on this guy, and he literally has there were certain parts of his brain that, he doesn't have that fear response, so he's able to go, climb up the face of a mountain. And but without that, like, and even if they were to correct that, like, he probably would lose his edge or his ability to do those things. And so it's just funny how you kind of have to have that. And so it's one of those things, like after a tournament, like if you're upset or whatever, like it's just place and time. But in the same sense, it's like at least for me, I'm like, well, yeah, you want him to be you want him to feel it, because if not, like you said, you're not going to come back. And I think that's where you see sometimes it happens to players where they do just become happy to be there, and then they become complacent, and
we
just
see plenty of
just
that right
say
now in
even.
PPA, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's plenty of players that like I used to see at a much higher caliber that maybe they're not playing as well, or they're not having the same results, and like they're just happy to be there. And honestly, like walking around and seeing that, like I know for myself, I got too much pride. I'm too feisty. Like once I get to that point, see you later. I will not be around. I mean, granted, money's money, and I got to take care of my family and all the above, but I don't know. I don't understand. I mean, obviously, like my situation is different. Like I've been able to reach number one in singles and men's doubles. So there's a level of pride there. But yeah, just the idea of being happy about showing up, like it's tough for me to see players like that.
Right. Well, you just wonder too, like, I don't know. I know even us, like, even with you, like, striving super hard and like being hungry, like it's still, even for us, like, hey, you don't know what's coming in tomorrow. Like you don't know what players or what talent or like what the competition, and not just like new players coming in. I mean, to contradict that a little bit, look how many players on tour have like skyrocketed and been putting in the work and have been like the promise in it, and guys where you used to beat them pretty regularly, now it's like, holy cow, they have a whole different, they're changing components of their game. They're working really hard. They're developing as a player, and that sort of thing. And so I think just kind of seeing those two opposite ends, because especially like if you were to plateau, like that's only going to last so long. And especially if the sport continues to go in the upward trajectory, it's going to be hard to be certain of your future if you don't try to evolve with the game. And the game has changed so much.
How many players now are like doing body work, doing IVs, working out, kind of not gonna lie, kind of taking the same blueprint, and it comes to show that it's worth it, right? Like, I mean, a nice comment that Miss Jansen mentioned as she was commentating for Vegas. The camera went on Craig, and she talked about just how I've like invested in my body and invested in my fitness and invested in, Stallion Performance or Craigie. And it's so true. Like the athlete I am right now compared to the athlete that I was a year and a half ago, I mean, night and day. And I think with me, not having a whole lot of there's no excuse by any means, but not having a whole lot of high level guys around me, or not having a whole lot of high level touches around me, and being able to manage all that. I've been able to manage that through just like becoming a savage in the gym and working on my first step and working on my hand speed and working on my physique and seeing a therapist and just becoming a better athlete through that side. And then obviously showing up to PPA tournaments Monday and trying to cram Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then rock and roll Thursday. It's worked for me, right? So I totally see the value in all that. And I think, but it's like,
and you talk about
just like what you just mentioned, if you're not doing that, you are a step behind.
And you talk about it a little bit too, about how, when you are in those like tight matches or in those like pressure for scenarios, like for you to be able to, and that's what we hope to change, right? Is that you feel the same about the pressure and the playing and the touches. But as of now, though, you can kind of lean on your fitness, and you can think back to like, okay, I put in the work. I did these certain things. I did it right. I need to trust in that.
Right. Right. But it's so true though. Like, you can only work on your body so much, but like, being able to manage pressure, being able to like sustain your level all day long, being able to like raise your game like 1% when like the going gets tough. Obviously tough to get that in the gym, and tough to get that by talking to my therapist, right? The only way you can get that is by surrounding yourself with high level bodies and playing a ton and building that crust. And obviously with how many events we play each year, I'm able to do that to a certain degree, but also like the couple weeks that you have off, I think it's so beneficial to have high-level people around you, because I don't know how much more comfortable I feel. And I've mentioned this to you, and I've mentioned this to my agent Josh. When I have back-to-back tournaments, I always play 10 times better. Or not 10 times better, but I always play much better. Why? Because I'm in the mode, and I understand pressure, and I can manage it, and I don't second-guess myself, and I'm seeing the ball bigger, and I'm thinking I have options under pressure versus if I have 2 weeks off, right? I have 2 weeks off and then I lead into a tournament. When that pressure starts, like instead of having options or like instead of thinking about doing different things, I'm so internal and I'm so focused on just like making balls and playing my side and keeping my positioning right versus like when I'm comfortable, I'm not thinking about any of that. I'm thinking like 5 steps ahead, like when to create offense and when to close. And anyhow, it's just that whole mindset is night and day. Right. And I think you take a look at Delray Beach, you take a look at Austin, you take a look at Orange County, Newport area, or even like LA these days. I mean, Boca is a prime example. I mean, Boca, you have everybody there: James, Anna, Anna Lee, Anna Bright, the Johnsons, Christian, Tyra, and these guys
Fed.
are playing. These guys are playing 4 or 5 days a week. Fed's trying to move up there. Pablo's trying to move up there. Why would you not move up there? I mean, you have players that are younger than they're like 25 and younger, and they're playing 5 days a week, and they're playing twice a day, and it's the highest of high as far as level and touches and practice. And all those players in the last year are all doing what? They're all doing very well.
No, for sure.
So
and I think we're seeing like they're making changes in their game, and they're comfortable doing so and testing it out and trying it, and
sure.
they're evolving.
And I mean, just like what you mentioned, tough to really recreate things or to find different tools in your game come tournament time. You have to do that in practice. And obviously, if you're not getting tested in practice, if you don't feel pressure in practice, and if you can't get over the hump of trying new things in practice, there's no way it's going to happen come match time. So all that creation, all trying to like reinvent yourself or adding new tools needs to take place with high level people in front of you. Okay, a lot of stuff taking place with MLP. I'll tell you what, sounds like Mr. Kuhn has resigned. Sounds like a couple of his board members went the other way as well. And I think, I don't know. I think somebody may have spent a little too much dough. And anyhow, I mean, it sounds like we don't know everything yet, but I'm still a huge Kuhn fan, and I wish him all the best. I mean, I don't know, for him to start this monster in 2020, to see it grow, obviously that was his whole thing, was just to help the sport develop and to bring on this fun new team format. Yeah. And obviously his whole goal was, was it 40 by 30, right?
Yeah.
40 million players by 2030. Right. Anyhow, the guy has done so much for the sport. He's one of the biggest teddy bears you'll ever meet. He's a total visionary, dreamer, correct? Mm-hmm. And from what it sounded like there just had to be some changes that had to be made in order to make this a bit more realistic and just kind of scale this thing. And
right.
Anyhow,
I think, I mean, I think we'll speak on it more when we have more facts in front of us. But I think one thing we all can acknowledge is that obviously Steve's a big dreamer, definitely brought some new components to the sport, definitely thought about this sport, just even past pro, right? For all the amateur players, really taking this thing of, all the way to like pickleball could change the world just, by it being social and good for your body and, gets people off the couch and all of the above. So I think he had this massive, massive dream. And although you have to say kudos to we've met a good majority of his staff, and everybody is happy to be there. They work hard. They're specialists in their fields and all the above. But but to try to take a dream this big and so quickly, because it's unnatural, the pace that this sport is just growing, right, and blowing up. And so to try to take this big vision and cram it into this short amount of time and try to put the right people in place and stuff.
It's a tough task.
It's tough. And let's take that to the other side. Kudos to Pardo's family, who did the same thing on their end. They saw there was all these random pickleball tournaments the pro players were playing, and they said, let's create a tour in which we can have we can take care of the pros, that we can make this more professional. We can bring in sponsors, and same thing. They kind of dream that scale and then put their their own money, up and like took that risk and
knew
lost their
they
own.
were going to be in the red for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they took really big chances and I don't know. They took big chances and they put their own money forward and all of the above. And, but just the same, like how many growing pains have there been on that side, on the PPA side? Like it's not perfect. There's not one recipe. Doesn't matter if you have 10 hands or you have 60 hands. It's like, I don't know, just going really fast. And so everybody's trying to like rush and capitalize and in the same sense, still take care of the pros and still make sure that there's longevity in the sport and all the above. So I think all of this to say, I think both parties definitely have the best intentions at heart. I think, in Steve's words, and I guess what's been released, that, got a little ahead of himself and that, he lets his emotions rule sometimes. And in this case, that was the case. And I guess I'm just kind of summarizing here, but essentially he is stepping down or bowing out and taking his votes with him and is hoping just to kind of keep going with Duper. I think that's, his focus and passion. And I think that the rest of what's left of the merger and all the above, that they will kind of step in. It kind of sounds like, I don't know, it's a little speculation, but that, I don't know, this will hopefully kind of clear the way to get some of those final pieces figured out. We're still waiting on a schedule, a schedule in a concrete format for next year. And so hopefully this kind of, I guess, clears the way and makes it makes where maybe things were cloudy in certain areas. Hopefully it makes it clear. But, just the same, we'll know things probably pretty soon. And something I've wanted to say about, just in our podcast in general, I wouldn't call us a news podcast. We're not a current events. We're not, yes, we'd love to, talk about things that people want to hear about. We like to give our perspective on things, but we're definitely not here, unless we're bringing on a guest, right, to speak directly about their topic. But like this whole podcast and anything we're talking about is simply,
Three pillars.
Three pillars, yeah.
Because we could care less about creating gossip, throwing out controversial stuff. There's plenty of other pods that do that. So we just focus on what the key ingredient is, and that's banging out camps, banging out content, chilling with kids, raising families, and taking heads off on Sunday and getting hardware.
Yeah, from the beginning, Tyson's brand has been, the three pillars have been you as a dad,
me as a coach,
you as a coach, you as an athlete, and so whenever we get off course a little bit, and which we have, and I definitely know that there's been times where you've come back and said, hey, shouldn't have said that, or, that was immature of me, or I need to grow as a person, I need to grow as an athlete.
Never said that.
All the above. But just the same, like, it's great when we can, like, focus in on what we want to present to people and yeah, try not to be something that we're not. And so if there's anything that we'll continue to do is talk about things from our perspective, which is just simply a family that's in this growing, crazy, emerging sport, and what we're steering towards.
Right.
And
I am more than relevant here, doing well. And with that being said, we're going to focus on the positive things in life versus unloading.
Another tricky thing, and this may be a controversial statement, but I feel like when you're just trying to be the very best athlete that you can be, and you're trying to be the very best dad and husband that you can be, like, to be honest, and I think our agent would kind of laugh and maybe like shoot me for saying this, but there's been times where things are on fire and we shut inadvertently, my phone had died and your phone shut off or whatever, because we're just spending time with our kids and we kind of take ourselves out of it sometimes. And, I think if you spoke to Steve Kuhn or whether you spoke to Connor Pardo, like, they'd have the same sentiment about our family. Like, we try to keep our nose out of it, and we see the positive in all this. And
and we try to keep it tight,
Yeah, for sure. And so with that being said, we probably will never be the frontline breaking news, providers, because it's just not where we're at. That's not how we're operating. We don't have that sort of resource and team. But it's not that we don't care about those subjects, and we definitely, when something's important enough, want to speak on that and share things. But that's not our intention. So not to be confused.
All right. So let's see here. My Seahawks lost to Cincinnati yesterday. Sad day, lost to the Bengals, and honestly, crazy day of football. San Fran,
Heartbreaker.
undefeated, 5-0 lost. Philadelphia Eagles, undefeated, lost, and it's a wild day for NFL. Let's see here. So partners for 2024. So as we all know, this is like the golden time for players to start searching for partners for the following year. Obviously, doesn't help anybody's case that the schedule is not out. Doesn't help my camps. Doesn't help partnerships. Any of that. So, but something that I can touch on is Catherine and I will not be playing together next year. So looking at talking to a few females about playing together next year. Obviously, always been a fan of playing full year or playing for a full year. I know there's certain players that like to do this whole 6-month trial, but I think we can all agree that most teams that are successful, they don't play for 6 months. Most teams that are successful that are getting hardware, that are on the podium, that are consistently in the mix, are teams that are together for a full year.
Unless you're living in the same city and you're practicing and everything, and to be honest, I think every single one of your partnerships for a while now, anyways, you show up that week and that's when you play together. Like you guys aren't playing together outside of that.
There's not enough money in the sport.
It takes 20 events or whatever to really get to know somebody and their game and especially if you're trying to learn and create on the fly.
Yep.
At tournaments.
Yep.
That's what it takes, for sure.
And anyhow, so and men's, I can gladly say that I got the double axe in 2020. Got axed by Riley for Matt Wright. Got axed for Anna Lee for Benny. All good. Came back the next year. Only got better. Usually, when
chip on your shoulder.
Yeah. Well, just usually when I get tested like that, or what do you want to call it? I second guess myself, or I get challenged, or I get dropped like that. I go right back to the drawing board and find a new version of myself, baby. It's the only way to do it. Anyhow, this year, me, I got the double axe as well. So here we are, 2020 and 2023, double axe. And I will gladly say that not only did I get the double axe, but I got axed for Matt Wright again.
Dang it.
Again. Took Jimmy away from me. Love me some Jimmy. I think Jimmy's in a position where he's told me multiple times he feel like he's found himself in mixed. He's a new version of himself in mixed. Probably his best doubles game is playing mixed. It's not so much men's. And him and Anna obviously have been very good all year. They've been consistently in top 3 and in a couple finals as well. Obviously Anna's playing at a high level, but Jimmy's a little starstruck, and I think Jimmy. I think you'll be the first to tell you Jimmy likes himself some Riley, and he likes himself some Matt Wright, and prime example for Jimmy and I. The first 6 months of the year didn't do a thing. Granted, I was hurt for 2 months, so didn't play. But didn't do a whole lot for the first half of the year. Last half of the year, or I guess the last 5 or 6 tournaments, we played together. Me on the left, got a couple medals. Then all of a sudden, got the axe. So anyhow, that's part of the game. So I'm in a position right now where I'm going back to the drawing board, finding myself a little honey for next year, and finding myself a good-looking gentleman for next year as well.
Yeah. And all that to say too, we absolutely love Catherine and Athena.
Yeah, of course.
They're so amazing.
There's no
great.
hard feelings. And honestly, too,
zero.
Honestly, too, I can't tell you how many players I've dropped or I said I wasn't going to play with them. And I have not seen a whole lot of respect from the other side, and so I'm in no position, nor would I ever be that guy, nor would I ever snoop down to whatever that is. Like if I get dropped, it's all good. It's business. It's part of it. It's not personal. This whole thing for us, obviously, it's not a social scene. Our main focus coming to tournaments is obviously winning, and. So I just think with all that,
Yeah, I mean, you've been there and it's tough. Like, there's been times where, especially in the beginning, like before, I mean, when the tour was just kind of coming together and you were used to kind of like, because tournaments before that, there wasn't a lot of money. And so it was way more emotional. It was way more like,
Well,
you know what I mean? You felt way worse leaving a partner.
A lot more strings attached for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because at that point, you weren't playing for money. You were playing for, or you necessarily weren't playing for your career and all of that, all the above.
For sure.
And so now, yeah, it's a different playing field. And so you can't blame players like, especially someone like Catherine, and I mean, even James as he's coming up, like, Catherine's extremely talented.
No,
and
I'm always going to be complimentary of Catherine. Always going to be complimentary of Jimmy.
For sure,
I mean, I got dropped by Rye. Rye and I are still boys. I got dropped by Annalie. I played with her mom the next year.
Right.
I saw the waters all year. I saw Annalie winning with Ben all year long. I'm not sitting there thinking, gosh, like I wish that was me.
That would be a tough road.
No,
if you were.
how exhausting it is to live like that, think
Yeah.
like that. It takes years off your life, and it's not worth it.
Right. No, for sure.
Obviously, easier said than done. But anyhow, so searching, hunting. But I think I have my men's figured out. I think I have my mix figured out. So.
So some changes.
I'll be a brand new man next year.
Changes coming 2024.
Yep. Let's see here. Okay, so last little topic we're gonna chat about here is LA Maddrops, or I guess just taking a look at the shuffle draft with MLP. So 3 out of the 4 players for LA Maddrops ended up getting shuffled around, and
no, and this shuffle is just for challenger. Correct?
Just for challenger.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. So looks like, let's see here. So it looks like Allison Harris. So Allison Harris is taking over for Olivia McMillan. There's a big, tall gentleman that lives in Boca, plays with that whole crew there. 6'9".
Okay.
His name's Andreas. He's taken Jordan Kinney's spot. And Brooke Buckner obviously is about ready to pop. So Brooke played the first event there in Atlanta. Bless her heart. She is very, very pregnant. And anyhow, so Sierra from LA is going to be taking her place. But talk about 3 out of the 4 players all getting moved around. And then the last one I want to talk about is Callan Dawson for Pesa Tioni. How Callan wasn't drafted in the second season, honestly, is a little. I think it's a little silly. He's probably one of the better challenger men's players, and obviously he hasn't done a whole lot in mixed. He doesn't play a whole lot of singles, but he's still playing at a high level in mixed for challengers, and he's probably one of the better male players in challengers in men's. Anyhow, so it looks like Callan is taking Pesa's spot. Love me some Pesa, but yeah, sounds like there's some changes being made and some ownership groups that are looking to make moves and move things around after the first event. God damn.
Tell me, there's not a shuffle for Premier?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Interesting.
No, there's not.
But they can do ad drops. Yeah. Right.
Right. Anyhow, heading to Miami tomorrow. Gonna be fun. When we get back, we will film another pod and tell you all about Miami. Also, from now on, gonna make sure K-Mac's always in the mix.
Yes.
He's been teaching too much. But anyhow, my name's Tyson McGuffin. This is a McGuffin Show. We'll see you guys next episode.